Hi dear traders, let's try to figure out what is going on in the US stock market, what is the chance of a strong retracement, and how many Americans filed for unemployment benefits last week. The unexpectedly negative figure in the ADP employment report did not disrupt a steady rally on Wall Street. Perhaps investors understood the underlying reason why the US private sector lost 301,000 jobs in January. It happened due to the Omicron breakout. Such market optimism, despite the negative news, is a sign of a strong bullish sentiment. The major US stock indexes have been extending growth for 4 days in a row. The Nasdaq closed with a 0.5% gain yesterday. The Dow Jones climbed by 0.6%. The S&P 500 closed 0.9% up. Today, futures on the S&P 500 are trading higher at nearly 4,544 points. Investors are very sensitive to corporate reports of top US companies. Why did the Nasdaq look muted growth yesterday? It was weighed down by financial records from Meta Platforms. Facebook's parent company reported weak profits that pushed its stock 20% down. Earlier, following albeit reports by Apple and Google, the stock jumped by 7% and 11% respectively. The S&P 500 tracks 11 sectors, including the auto giant General Motors. The company reported that the profits increased 1.6 times to $10 billion. This propelled growth of its stocks. The expected corridor for the S&P is defined between 4,560 and 4,610. Unlike the US stocks, the greenback is developing a rapid bearish move. Yesterday, the US dollar lost its footing because of the euro's advance. The euro makes the most impact in the basket of 6 major currencies against the US dollar. No wonder the US dollar index declined yesterday when the euro perked up ahead of the ECB policy meeting. Investors found out that the EU CPI surged to 5.1% annually in December, and this could assure the ECB to tighten monetary policy. The US dollar index is drifting lower within the corridor of 95.70 and 96.30. Now it's trading at about 95.81. The ECB decided to put the key policy rate on hold, so the greenback could stall its decline. The prospects of the nearest rate hike in the US will worsen the problem of the US federal debt. It has surpassed $30 trillion for the first time in history. Sooner or later, it will pose a huge threat to the whole global economy. Indeed, the US dollar remains the main world's reserve currency. And the USD CAD pair slipped to 1.2693, trading within the corridor between 1.26 and 1.28. Analysts assume that the currency pair might get stuck in this range until March, on condition there are no cardinal changes in oil prices. Inflation in Canada is keeping at the levels close to 5%. And Governor of the Bank of Canada, Tiff Macklem, slated today that inflation is set to go down. The question is open when it will happen. The target level is defined at 2%. Perhaps the domestic economy needs higher interest rates to return to this level. Cryptocurrencies are taking advantage of the weak US dollar because of the opposite correlation. Nevertheless, the overall trend remains bearish in the crypto market. Digital tokens cannot recover because the stock of some US high-tech giants dropped sharply. Netflix plummeted by 22%, PayPal fell by 20%, Facebook by 22%, and Spotify by 23%. Meanwhile, Bitcoin is making an upward correction within the overall downtrend. Following a 15% decrease, the flagship cryptocurrency got trapped sideways for 2 weeks, and then the token left the trading range in the downward direction. The crypto is likely to halt in the corridor between $37,620 and $37,324 today. The crypto is making efforts to grow. The US Labor Department reported that the number of initial jobless claims dropped to 238,000 last week from 261,000 a week ago. The US non-farm productivity rate climbed to 6.6% sequentially in the fourth quarter from -5% previously, and this is a stunning result. That's all for today. We wish you profitable trading and see you tomorrow.